In the summer of 1978, the French team, Les Bleus, arrived in South America not as championship candidates, but as travelers in search of their identity. Under the leadership of Michel Hidalgo, they brought a generation of young, talented players and a poetic attacking style of play dubbed champagne football. Although eliminated in the group stage when drawn in the group of death with Argentina and Italy, the 1978 generation sowed the first seeds of hope. They played beautiful, free-spirited, and emotional football, the perfect blueprint for the glorious 1980s. But when the stadium lights went out, the Musketeers of that year returned. To real life, took off their sweat-soaked jerseys to face their own fate. More than 4 decades have passed. Time has carved the wrinkles of experience into their lives. Some climbed to the pinnacle of world football power and then fell painfully. Some became successful businessmen, and there are also legends who have forever remained with their motherland. Let's take a look back at the ups and downs of the first 11 names on the list of those who woke up French football from its long sleep. Didier Six came to the 1978 World Cup like a whirlwind on the wing, carrying the enthusiasm of a 23-year-old and an extremely skillful left foot. He was truly a classic winger, always ready to stir up the opponent's defense with his skillful dribbling down the wing. Playing all 3 matches, Six proved himself to be an extremely dangerous drill on the left wing. He was a typical representative of the freedom and adventurousness in the French team's playing style at that time, a star who never sat still. Didier Six's life after that was exactly like his playing style, a great nomad. He was one of the first French players to play abroad, wandering through Belgium, Germany, England, and Turkey. After hanging up his boots, Six continued his tireless journey as a coach, but not on the glamorous stages of Europe, but in faraway lands in Africa and Asia. He led Togo, Mauritius, Guinea, accepting difficult working conditions to satisfy his passion. His life had its ups and downs financially. There were rumors that he was in great difficulty, but Six always found a way to get up and keep going. Didier Six's connection to life is movement. He does not belong to any fixed place. On the field, he runs constantly. Off the field, he moves constantly. He is the embodiment of free people who find happiness in the journey rather than the destination. Today, Didier Six is still involved in international football at the age of 70. He is still a familiar name in African football, a traveling veteran of the football world, bringing the experience of the 1978 generation to sow seeds in new lands. Gérard Janvion, the steel defender nicknamed Le Cerbère, the 3-headed dog of hell, was the terror of every attacking force at the 1978 World Cup. The 24-year-old player from Martinique was renowned for his extremely annoying marking ability. Janvion possessed the physical foundation and speed of an athlete, which made him tasked with blocking dangerous attacks from the opponent. He played with instinct, wild and fierce, truly a solid shield of steel in front of the goal. After retiring, Janvion's life took many complicated turns. He had financial and legal troubles and went through difficult periods in his personal life. There was a time when he lived a rather reclusive life, away from the glamorous world of football. However, he later found balance when he returned to his native Martinique, coaching local teams and helping develop football in the Caribbean. Janvion's contrast lies in his toughness. On the field, he is the terror of strikers. Off the field, he also has to fight with the tough opponents of life's bread and butter. But his warrior instinct keeps him from falling. Gérard Janvion now lives a low-key life in Martinique. Although he no longer appears much in the French media to Saint-Étienne fans, he remains a legend with a fearless style of play. Christian Lopez, who has Spanish blood, was Janvion's quiet and good partner, but surprisingly proved that defenders could score goals at the 1978 World Cup. At the age of 25, Lopez played intelligently, read situations very well, and was especially excellent in tackling. In this tournament, he even scored a goal, which was rare for defenders at that time. Lopez was the type of player who always completed his tasks excellently and covered his teammates well. After his illustrious playing career, Lopez chose a very ordinary life. He did not pursue a career in coaching at the top level, but worked in the insurance industry, and then as a sports store manager. He also coached amateur teams in the Canes and Cannes regions. Lopez found more joy in teaching children to play football than in the glamour of professional football. He was a family man living a simple and sincere life. Lopez's connection to life is responsibility. On the field, he is always there to make a save. Off the field, he is responsible for his family and work. He proves that behind the spotlight, happiness can come from the simplest things. Today, Christian Lopez is enjoying a peaceful retirement in the south of France. He is a model of a star who knows how to let go of the spotlight to return to being an exemplary husband and father. Marius Trésor, the proud black pearl from Guadeloupe, was the captain of the French team in 1978 and became the perfect embodiment of composure and authority in defense. At the age of 28, he played in the libero position, not only clearing the ball, but also eloquently initiating attacks with precise long passes. With an ideal physique and the ability to read the game like an open book, Trésor was truly the most solid mental support for a young team. He played all 3 matches directly commanding the defense against the top strikers of the hosts Argentina and Italy. The image of Trésor calmly directing his teammates has become a symbol of the maturity of French football in welcoming overseas talents. After that tournament, Trésor continued to be an irreplaceable pillar, helping France reach the semi-finals of the 1982 World Cup, where he scored a memorable volley against West Germany. After retiring, Trésor did not leave football, but remained fully committed to Bordeaux, the club he loved. He took on the roles of reserve team coach, scout, and club ambassador for decades. Off the pitch, Trésor was a cheerful man, loved music, and even released a music album. He lived a peaceful life, away from the political struggles within the Federation, content with his role as a motivator for the younger generation in the Aquitaine region. The connection between Trésor on the pitch and in life is solidity. On the pitch, he is a rock that stops all attacks. Off the pitch, he is a loyal man attached to one shirt and one land all his life. He is proof that a leader does not need to be loud, but only needs dedication and a kind heart to be respected. Today, at the age of over 70, Marius Trésor has retired, but is still a living legend in Bordeaux. He still has his signature bright smile, enjoys his old age with his family, and occasionally appears in the stands to cheer for his beloved team, bringing with him memories of the once dreamy days of Les Bleus. Dominique Bathenay was considered the eternal and most powerful engine in the midfield of the French team at the 1978 World Cup. At the age of 24, famous for his thunderous long-range shots in the Saint-Étienne shirt, typically the goal against Liverpool, Bathenay brought to Argentina his fierceness and excellent one-on-one ability. He played the role of a rhythm keeper, diligently cleaning up the midfield to create space for Platini to be creative. It was Bathenay's discipline and passionate playing style that was indispensable to help balance Coach Hidalgo's attacking-oriented squad. Bathenay's career then followed Paris Saint-Germain, where he became captain and lifted the French Cup. After retiring, he did not choose a long-term coaching career, but instead moved into a management role. He was the president of the French Cup Committee, a position that requires prestige and organizational ability. Bathenay is a quiet person, rarely appears in the press, but has a weighty voice in the professional world. He also spent time leading teams such as the UAE or Seychelles, but always maintained a calm demeanor. The similarity of Bathenay is discipline. On the field, he adheres to absolute tactics. Off the field, he is a principled manager. He represents football people with a cool head and dedication. Dominique Bathenay is now enjoying a peaceful retirement. He is still regularly invited to attend Saint-Étienne and PSG celebrations, where he is remembered as one of the best midfielders of his generation. Maxime Bossis, nicknamed Le Grand Max, was the modern defender who turned blocking into an art form at the 1978 World Cup. Arriving at the tournament at just 22, Bossis, with his impressive height and long legs, played with grace and technique rather than brute strength. He could play both center back and full back. In Argentina, Bossis showed incredible maturity, becoming one of the tournament's biggest revelations. He was a symbol of rare elegance in defense. Bossis's peak and trough came after 1978. He became a record holder for the number of appearances for France, but he is best remembered for his missed penalty kick in the fateful 1982 World Cup semi-final. The image of Bossis falling down became a symbol of the Seville tragedy. But Bossis stood up strong, winning Euro 1984 with France. After retiring, he became a prestigious television commentator known for his sharp analysis and warm voice. He also participated in business and organized football courses. The link between Bossis and life is elegance. He plays luxury football and lives a very dignified life. He did not let the pain of 1982 drown him, but turned it into a lesson to grow up. Today, Maxime Bossis remains a beloved face on French television. At nearly 70 years old, he still retains his elegant demeanor, a true gentleman of French football who has experienced every emotion of football. Michel Platini was the name that made the world admire his outstanding talent for the first time on the big stage of the 1978 World Cup. The 22-year-old boy with his romantic curly hair and loose number 10 shirt was considered the Mozart of French football. Platini did not need to move too much, but the ball always seemed to find his feet. With his genius tactical vision and trademark direct free kicks, he scored his first goal against Argentina, officially opening a brilliant career. The image of Platini in 1978 was not only the beginning of a legend, but also marked the appearance of the person who would completely change the position of French football on the world map. Platini's journey after that was an epic with both the highest and the lowest notes of tragedy. He led France to win Euro 1984, won 3 consecutive golden balls with Juventus. After retiring, Platini did not choose to be a long-term coach, but entered the football political path, climbing to the pinnacle of power as UEFA president. He was once expected to become the head of FIFA, but then the corruption scandal in 2015 brought everything down. From a hero, he was banned from participating in football activities. His reputation was tarnished. The following years were a tiring legal battle to regain his innocence. The contrast in Platini's life was cruel. On the field, he was the king, the one who controlled the ball as he pleased. But on the political chessboard, he became the victim of power calculations. The once gallant number 10 had to taste the feeling of betrayal by the very world he once ruled. Now, at nearly 70 years old, Michel Platini lives a more reclusive life after being acquitted by a Swiss court in 2022. He spends time with his family away from the spotlight. Although his managerial legacy is controversial in the hearts of French fans, the image of the curly-haired boy from 1978 remains the most beautiful symbol of artistic football. Henri Michel, a true legend of FC Nantes, brought a gentlemanly, calm demeanor to the 1978 World Cup in midfield. At 30, he was one of the most experienced players in the French squad. He played the famous jeu à la Nantaise style, with small, fast, and beautiful combinations. Playing in 2 matches, Henri Michel played the role of an important bridge connecting the old generation and the young generation of Platini. Henri Michel's post-retirement career was even more brilliant. He became a great coach who led France to the 1984 Olympic gold medal and took the French team to the semi-finals of the 1986 World Cup. He then became the King of Africa when he led a series of teams such as Cameroon, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Tunisia to the World Cup. He was absolutely respected for his profound knowledge and noble personality. He lived a life dedicated to football, traveling around the world to spread the philosophy of beautiful football. The similarity of Henri Michel is magnanimity. He played beautiful football, coached beautiful football, and lived a beautiful life. He was a great teacher of many generations of players. However, the artist's journey had to stop. On April 24, 2018, Henri Michel passed away at the age of 70 after a long battle with cancer. His departure left an endless sorrow for French and African football. His legacy is not only the titles, but also his polite demeanor and gentle smile that will be remembered forever. Dominique Rocheteau, nicknamed L'Ange Vert, the Blue Angel, entered the 1978 World Cup as the sex symbol of 1970s French football, but he quickly proved that his boyish good looks were only a small part of his talent. At 23, with his long hair and handsome face, Rocheteau was every girl's idol. But on the pitch, with his ability to dribble on both sides, he scored a goal and created a chance. Although Rocheteau hated the nickname the Angel because of his love of rock music and left-wing politics, he could not help but be adored by the fans. After retiring, Rocheteau did not choose the path of celebrity or acting as many predicted. He became a sports manager, serving as the sporting director of Saint-Étienne for many years. He also wrote books, participated in social activities, and maintained a clean image. Rocheteau lived up to his ideals, a man of inner depth, a lover of culture and art, not a superficial entertainment star. Rocheteau's relationship with life was one of opposites. On the field, he was a soaring angel. Off the field, he was a thoughtful man. He always tried to escape the flashy label to be recognized for his intelligence and ability. Today, Rocheteau has retired and lives a quiet life writing books and raising his family. He remains the first love of millions of French football fans, a symbol of timeless romance. Bernard Lacombe made history in the 1978 World Cup in just 37 seconds, with the fastest shot of the tournament and the fastest in the history of the French team at that time against Italy. At 25, he was a classic striker possessing good pressing ability, versatile finishing, and extremely sharp in the penalty area. Lacombe was the main spearhead in the attack, specializing in converting Platini's passes into goals. After hanging up his boots, Lacombe became the second most powerful figure at Olympique Lyonnais. Lyon, the right-hand man of President Jean-Michel Aulas. He was the architect behind Lyon's period of dominance with 7 consecutive Ligue 1 championships. With a keen eye for talent, he brought in a series of Brazilian stars like Juninho. Lacombe lives and breathes. Lion football is a shrewd, sometimes controversial, but extremely effective manager. Lacombe's parallel is efficiency. On the pitch, he scores goals in quick succession. In the dugout, he makes decisive decisions. He is the epitome of sustained success. Bernard Lacombe has now retired from his Lyon empire, but he remains a living legend in the city. He spends his time playing golf and enjoying the fruits of a lifetime of tireless dedication. Nantes's towering goalkeeper, Jean-Paul Bertrand experienced the most tragic moment of the 1978 World Cup when his hopes ended in utter agony. At 26, he started the first 2 games, but against Argentina, after diving to block a long-range shot, he collided with the post and suffered a serious spinal injury. The image of him lying on a stretcher, forced off to make way for dropsy, became one of France's most tragic moments at the tournament. After that terrible injury, Bertrand tried to come back and play at the top level for many more years for Nantes. But the most surprising thing is his life after football. He became an extremely successful businessman in the fields of real estate and finance. He built a huge business career, becoming one of the richest former players in France. He cut a lot of ties with the world of football to focus on getting rich, proving that the sharp thinking of a goalkeeper can also be applied to the business world. The connection between Bertrand Demain's and life is bravery. He got back up from a near back-breaking injury to continue playing and then built a completely new and brilliant life. He is proof that football can be just one chapter in the book of life. Today, Jean-Paul Bertrand Demain is a successful businessman living a comfortable and private life. The memory of the collision with the goalpost in 1978 is now just a faint scar on this successful man's back. Marc Berdahl, the natural goal scorer of Angers CO, entered the memory of French fans in 1978 with the strangest and funniest mark in World Cup history, a goal in a borrowed shirt. In the match against Hungary, due to a mix-up in the kits, the French team had to wear the blue and white striped shirts of a local team called Kimberley. And it was in that strange shirt that Marc Berdahl, the 25-year-old striker, scored the goal to make it 2-0, which was also the most brilliant moment in his short international career. Berdahl was not a flashy striker, he was a pure goal hunter, playing direct, strong football and always knowing how to choose a position to finish in the penalty area. Berdahl's career was synonymous with the title King of Angers. He was a great striker for the club, a true local hero. After the World Cup, he went on an adventure to Germany to play for Saarbrücken and then Marseille, but his heart always belonged to Angers. Unlike his teammates who sought fame in the big football capitals, Berdahl chose a quieter path. He played for the joy of scoring goals, not too concerned with the halo or money. After retiring, he completely withdrew from the world of professional football, refusing coaching or commentating jobs to live the life of an ordinary person. Berdahl's connection to life is simplicity. On the pitch, he scores goals with simple tap-ins. Off the pitch, he chooses happiness in obscurity. He is proof that sometimes just a flash of brilliance in a borrowed shirt is enough for an ordinary person to be remembered forever. Today in his 70s, Marc Berdahl enjoys a peaceful retirement in his hometown. He rarely appears in the press content to tend his garden and spend time with his children and grandchildren. To the people of Angers, he remains a living legend, a monument to loyalty and humility. Olivier Rouillet, nicknamed La Rouille, brought the freshness of 22 to the 1978 World Cup with his incredible speed and his never-ending smile, as if football was the purest joy in his life. He was Michel Platini's best friend and perfect partner at Nancy. Quick as a squirrel, skillful, and always full of energy, Rouillet was a dangerous drill on the right wing. He played in 2 matches at the tournament, bringing the precious enthusiasm of youth. But behind that smile was a huge secret that he had to keep hidden throughout his career. Long after hanging up his boots, Olivier Rouillet bravely came out as gay. He was one of the first and rare professional footballers in France to dare to do so. Rouillet admitted that he had to live 2 parallel lives, a strong player on the field and a lonely man who had to hide his true self because of social prejudice at that time. After retiring, he worked as a coach for Nancy, but then found joy as a TV commentator and owner of a bar restaurant in Nancy. The contrast in Rouillet's life is remarkable. On the pitch, he used speed to overcome opponents, but in real life, he had to use courage to overcome barriers of prejudice. The freedom he displayed in his 1978 playing style eventually translated into his real life when he decided to be true to himself. Today, Olivier Rouillet is still a familiar and beloved face on French television L'Équipe. He lives happily, comfortably, and proudly. He is not only a former national team player, but also a symbol of courage, a pioneer for the LGBTQ+ community in a football environment full of toxic masculinity. Patrick Battiston, the youngest brother of the French team at the age of 21, made a splendid World Cup debut, taking the first steps in a career that would later be associated with tragedy and glory. Although he only played 1 match, it was the mark of a great talent. Battiston had a scholarly appearance, a smart playing style, and an excellent ability to participate in attacks. He was the model of the modern defender playing with intelligence rather than muscle. 1978 was just a gentle start to a stormy journey ahead. Battiston's fate changed forever on a Seville night in 1982. In the World Cup semi-final against West Germany, he was hit by goalkeeper Harald Schumacher and collided with him so hard that Battiston fell unconscious, broke 3 teeth, and fractured his spine. The whole world held its breath, thinking he had died on the field. But from the dead, Battiston miraculously revived. Without resentment or revenge, he quietly returned Euro 1984 with France and continued to reap success with Bordeaux. He forgave Schumacher, showing the noble character of a gentleman. Battiston's connection to life is one of forgiveness and rebirth. The 1982 crash may have ended his life, but it became a testament to his resilience. He didn't let tragedy define him as a victim, but rather as a champion of forgiveness. Today, Patrick Battiston is the director of the Bordeaux Youth Training Center. He works quietly nurturing young talents, teaching them not only how to play football, but also how to be a human being. At nearly 70 years old, he still maintains a gentle and calm demeanor. He is a witness to history, a true hero who has conquered death to live a meaningful life.